I think ukuthi it's good ukuthi baye esibhedlela in the hospital instead of them going to the mountains in Tabeni, because apparently a lot of people die when they go to the mountains. So it's better when they do it in the hospital.
My views are the same as hers, because it's much safer there. As she said, a lot of people die. There are rumors about witches over there.
Imagine being there at the mountains, then somebody comes to you and says, "Chonga now, Papa and go look up." They just cut it. It's not something that you might imagine the pain that a person might go through. So I think that medical, I think it's better and it's more safer.
Medical.
And your reasons?
A reason being is because it's more safer. Like after doing the circumcision, you can able to get a medication for your infections. There at the mountains, nah.
In mountains, it's not safe. They just cut you and they just leave you, and then you have to bleed there until you find you're fully healed.
I've seen myself people who actually got affected by going to the mountain, because when they came back, they had problems, with their testicles and everything. So medical circumcision is the way and the future.
I prefer it because it's much safer. Yeah, it's much safer because traditional, you get people, abashona, people that get infections, konalapo, they're not treated well. So yeah, medical.
Male circumcision, which is practiced for social, cultural and medical reasons, is one of the oldest and most common surgical procedures performed globally. It is estimated that 1 in 3 males worldwide are circumcised. Here at home, some will have their foreskin snipped off soon after birth, some in childhood, mostly in hospital, some in the teen years, either in doctor's rooms, hospital or the mountains, and for some, even in their adulthood. Now, there are 2 main ways in which male circumcision takes place. The one is male medical circumcision, and the other one is as part of the traditional practice of rite of passage into manhood. Now, the interest in male circumcision over the years has been mainly for 2 reasons. One is the role that circumcision plays in HIV prevention, and the other one is the unfortunate severe complications and in some instances death associated with traditional circumcision. Now, the month of June is Youth Month, and the focus is on matters affecting the youth. Now, circumcision is undoubtedly one of the most important issues affecting youth. It's for that reason that our topic today is male circumcision. And our guests include the Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, the Director of the National MMC Program from the National Department of Health, an MMC surgeon, and 2 men who successfully underwent MMC to share their experiences with us. Now you can tweet us at SABC Health Talk, or simply just interact with us on our Facebook page, SABC Health Talk. So sit back, relax, and learn from this bumper show ahead, coming to you just after a short break. I'm Dr. Selomut Daoum, and this is Health Talk.
One's life can change in an instant. It is then that you need fast and efficient service, and that is why Asupol created the Instant Groceries benefit for you. Minutes after a claim, an electronic voucher for 2,500 Rand will be sent to your cell phone, and within an instant you can start doing shopping at all the major stores. More than 700,000 customers have already received the Instant Groceries benefit. Get yours in an instant. SMS call to 32813.
We give you a front row seat to all the local and international entertainment news on Trends every Saturday from 12 to 1.
considering the fact that traditional is an ethnical thing that we've grown up believing is the right way to go, you can already imagine that there'll be a lot of people that actually condone traditional, circumcision. But given the way things have been going these days and the climate changes and everything and how many people have lost their lives following the traditional way of doing things, the medical one has become a bit more guaranteed as far as survival and things being done right is concerned. So regardless of what my ethnical beliefs would have been initially, I probably think now I prefer medical circumcision to anything else.
I believe that one of the rightful ones is because it's not only about like the teachings that are involved or your procedure of actually being circumcised through the ritual.
It also entails the cultural norms and roots, like about the practices, the attitudes, the value. It shows, now you are a person that respects the culture and your background, where you grew, how you grew up, and how you are raised. Then with this. Getting circumcised in the clinics is one of the Western ways. It's things that we're adapting while we grown up, and
I would prefer traditional because I'm Xhosa and I had to go through it traditional, not the medical one. So, Mara, for other guys, I would prefer medical because traditional, you might get infections. There are a lot of disadvantages of traditional male circumcision.
I think the clinic is much more better because it's safer. And now, I don't know, there was some documentary about, those people who take the boys to the mountain. Some of them are fake and most people, they die. So I think the clinic is much more safer.
I prefer medical because it is much safer and you heal faster. Instead, in other views, traditional can show you the ways on how to become a man.
All right, so let's learn more about this problem this topic of circumcision from our special guests. And it gives me great pleasure at this stage to introduce the first guest is the Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Dr. Obed Bapela, no stranger to this show. Welcome to Health Talk once again.
Thank you very much.
All right, and accompanying the Deputy Minister is Dr. Ezekiel Matebula, who is an MMC surgeon, and he's managing partner for Vigelisizwe Health Solutions. Welcome to Health Talk.
Thank you very much, Dr.
All right, I'm going to come back to you and ask you about Vigelisizwe Health Solutions. But first, let's talk about circumcision. Perhaps, let me start with you, Deputy Minister. What are we talking about when we talk circumcision?
Well, circumcision is a procedure that boys have to go through based on religion, culture, and sometimes social,
right,
where you have to go in either, if you are religious, they have facilities that will take you to, and then if you are just doing it for social, you then go to health facilities and do it as a way of preventing illnesses.
Okay.
That it's said that if we are not circumcised, it's easy to pick them up.
Okay.
Sexual transmissions and so forth. And then the other way then is the traditional way, which is an old system that has existed within the African groupings.
Maybe just on that, I mean, let's talk about the history of this practice. And are there any differences between, perhaps leaning more towards, the traditional circumcision? Now, we'll talk about it more in the next segment. But what is the history of this practice, perhaps in South Africa and Southern Africa and perhaps on our continent?
Well, when Africans were migrating and moving from one area to the other, Central Africa, East Africa, going up and down looking for opportunities, greener pastures of the land, they left with various cultures that then started influencing each other along the way, and as the rise of the tribes was happening at the time. But also it was a form of a military training for young boys to be prepared should there be wars that break in between tribal groupings. and then you then go and prepare them. And then the distinction was that I'm from training, and then part of the training is the circumcision that you undergo. And we are now a different boy from the other boys that are in our own village, because if they haven't gone through training, it means they will not be circumcised, and therefore you are the men and they are the boys. Right. But then became a cultural phenomenon over a period of time, and believed solely by people differently. If you go to the classes, it becomes part of the social well-being. If you are from initiation and you are circumcised, you are a man. And when there are social events, you get separated. That if you didn't go, no matter how old you are, Dr. Sillo, you will then be told that you are a child, go and eat with the children. There's 8, 7, 8, 9. But if you are 16, 18 or 19 and you come from there, you are a man. You then get associated as you are.
We'll get back to that, because again, the surgical procedure, so to say, is just part of that cultural event, the entire cultural event. We'll come back to that. Let's come back to the medical side now, Dr. Mathebula. I mean, this is a procedure that's been performed for many, many, many centuries. Shall I say many, many years?
Yes, I think actually, firstly, we need to start with definition. It's the removal of the foreskin. The foreskin is that circular skin around the head of the penis. So you remove it to expose the head of the penis. And it's got benefits.
Tell us about the medical benefits then.
Yes. There was research done in Kenya, Uganda, and Orange Farm here in South Africa, where they found out that circumcised males have a reduction in HIV infection. There was a 60% reduction in the risk of HIV infection. And it also has other benefits, like it reduces the risk of having sexually transmitted infections. And it has benefits to your female partner, because the foreskin, it's liked by the HPV virus, which causes cervical cancer. So when you are circumcised, then your partner benefits by reducing a risk of having cervical cancer being reduced.
So are there any? So I mean, obviously, it's a matter of choice. In the young boys, it's the parents that decide that we want our child to be circumcised at birth, and or in early childhood. I guess when it gets to teenagers, they decide for themselves. But are there indications, are there instances where the doctor recommends that this child needs to be circumcised?
Yes, there are medical indications for male medical circumcision. The first one is phimosis. It's when you are unable to retract your foreskin. Then for you to be able to clean the penis, or the glands of the penis, which is the head of the penis, you need to have it circumcised. And there are other indications, like there's another condition called paraphimosis. It's when your penis can't pull the skin above the glands of the penis. So you need to surgically circumcise so that your condition can be
Are there any risks to circumcision? Medical circumcision, let's start there.
I think if it's done by trained people, the risks are minimal. Yes, like any other procedure, you have the immediate risks where a person can bleed, but there are no risky things that can be done when you're being circumcised, unless if you're not taking care of your circumcision post-procedure, you can have infections. Then those are the risks that are there. But besides, it's a safe and easy procedure.
Okay. So, Minister, every year we obviously read in the papers, and this is about the time when, you hear stories about young boys who go to these initiation schools, some of them dying, unfortunately, some of them coming out with a whole lot of, complications, sepsis, and so on. What has been the challenges around traditional circumcision?
Well, the challenges is the methodology and also lack of trained people. who are conducting the procedure of circumcision. And as you'll know, therefore, that they are using various tools. During Stone Age, the type of weapons that existed will be sharpened stone. And then, obviously, then there was a steel discovery, and then the assegai now is being used even up to now.
Yeah.
And then there's a resistance, obviously, by certain national groups to move now to the male medical circumcision, which is the more safer one, because they say it's compromising tradition.
Yeah.
And will not be men enough if you go through that. That is why then we are engaging and talking to the traditional leadership to say it is the safest way, and I think we need to move in that direction, because culture adapts from stone to steel to the modern technology. Why can't we do that? Because we're able to move with times when development discovers other use of weapons to be used. So there's a resistance. But however, in other national groups like in Limpopo and in Mpumalanga, they have now accepted and adapted. That's why they're safer in the traditional school for children go in and they come back, except in illegal schools. But then in the Eastern Cape, because of that resistance, and we're still talking to them, they then feel that we are not men enough if you then follow the modern technology. And I think those are the issues. But our forefathers who used to be well known and vested with this have almost gone, died, and it's a younger generation that is coming without knowledge.
So this
and
is a
also
problem, I think.
There are a lot of wrongs that are happening in illegal schools where boys who were initiated last year will then come and receive the new recruits and then initiate them without any experience, and that is why
I'll tell you what,
hear all those stories then.
Let's just go for a quick break, because I'd like us to carry on this discussion on the traditional circumcision. But that after a quick break. Please stay with us.
Technology is used for both positive and negative.
Some governments block the internet in times of protest.
With this internet blackout, it's impossible for me to do it, so I have to travel to Douala.
This act is a true violation of the rights of citizens.
In Africa, people are always coming up with innovative ways to use technology to solve some of their problems.
The more interesting piece of technology is actually the artificial intelligence.
AI, it's utilizing data to make your life easier.
On Network, we give you Africa's technology and social media news.
Catch Network with Spumelele Zondi every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Our stories.
How do I begin?
Our lives. When all seems to fail, we will raise our voices a bit louder for our justice.
I went into absolute shock. My whole body was shaky. I couldn't hold a phone, but there he was. I couldn't believe the nonchalant that they were still in the area 2 weeks later.
And in times when the justice system is not able to help us with our individual battles,
I'm willing to do anything.
What are you doing? Nothing. Feeling sorry for yourself? No, it's not an option.
These are our stories on Cutting Edge Channel 404.
Welcome back. We're talking male circumcision with our two guests, Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Mr. Obert Bapela, and an MMC surgeon, Dr. Ezekiel Matebule. Now, Minister, let's focus on the traditional circumcision. Earlier, we described this as part of this, tradition of rite of passage into man. Perhaps let's start off by saying, here at home, are there regions perhaps in the country where this is more common as compared to other regions? For instance, do you find it in Limpopo? Do you find it in KwaZulu-Natal? And where is it most commonly practiced?
Well, it used to be all over the country, but since Limpopo adopted a new system, followed by Mpumalanga, and KwaZulu-Natal has long adopted that particular system where children just go to hospital and they don't have to go to the mountain.
Right.
And then the Swazis also do not do. But then other national groups, they still insist on the traditional methodology. But I love what Mpumalanga and Limpopo did by adopting to the use of surgical professional people, the doctors, professional doctors, who themselves went to the mountain, now who are professional doctors, who will then be enlisted to come during that period to come and help in the circumcision portion of it. And then once they are done, then the initiation then will follow in terms of rites to passage. But the Eastern Cape, particularly in the Mampondo areas, the Mpondos, it's the most difficult environment, I must say. And because it was once banned 100 years ago, and the knowledge is gone. Now, because of the Eastern Cape cultural belief that if you are not from a mountain, you cannot associate. You will not fall in love with any girl for so long as you are known that you didn't go to the mountain. You get marginalized, you get isolated, you got called names. Then the Mpondos are moving in their bigger numbers into these schools, and most of them are illegal, run by unprofessional people, run by people who are not known, and that's where the biggest deaths are occurring, year in and year out. Last year we had 40 deaths, majority of them in the Eastern Cape.
Well, let's speak to Dr. Mathebula. By the way, for those of you who may know or might not know, Dr. Mathebula is the current team doctor for Orlando Pirates. Now, Dr. Mathebula, we're not here to talk about Orlando Pirates. We know we've had a successful season, but let's talk about Advocacy Health Solutions. You are a managing partner. Just tell us a bit about what that is.
Okay. Advocacy Health Solutions is a not-for-profit company which is subcontracted to URC Consortium. URC Consortium for the VMMC Project 3, which is funded by PEPFAR and USAID. So we provide free male medical circumcisions in 14 districts in the whole country, in 6 provinces, that is KwaZulu-Natal, the Free State, in Lijoliputso in the Free State, Northwest in Bujanala, Mpumalanga, Gauteng, and Limpopo. So we provide free male medical circumcisions in those. We've got other partners.
Did you mention Eastern Cape as well?
No, Eastern Cape
not
is
in the
not,
Eastern Cape.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Any reason why you exclude the Eastern Cape?
I think there's PEPFAR-funded programs. It's either USAID or there's another one, CDC. So there's areas that are given to CDC and there's areas that are given to USAID. So the districts that we are doing are those that are given to USAID. I think CDC is performing in the other provinces.
All right. So sticking to the whole, traditional circumcision or traditional rite of passage into manhood, so to say. We've had stories that some families or some parents would rather have their young boys go to the mountain, but when it comes to the actual circumcision procedure, they then bring their boys to a doctor's practice like yourself. What has been your experience insofar as that is concerned?
Yes, I think most parents now, as the minister has said, in Limpopo and Mpumalanga, are now receptive to the fact that it can be done medically. Then those boys go to the mountains and fulfill other cultural activities there. Right. So we've seen a lot of those boys coming for circumcisions, and it has reduced a lot of complications.
Is it? Okay. Yes. So what are the sort of ages that you see, these boys coming through? Okay.
As a USAID consortium, we're targeting males between 15 and 34 years because we're looking at adolescents. We want to catch them before they start being sexually active, and other males who are sexually active because we want to reduce this HIV risk. Okay. So it's been that, but we also provide 10 to 14-year-olds, but we don't go to and recruit them actively. When they walk into a facility, we provide circumcisions. I forgot to mention that it's a free circumcision.
All right, we're going to come back to that. Let's go back to the issue of traditional circumcision. So So are we making progress? If we look back now, I mean, you mentioned earlier that, it's now only 1 or 2 provinces that still, practice this tradition. And unfortunately, even though one death is one too many, have we seen some improvement in the number of deaths associated with these traditional circumcisions over the years?
Yes, we are seeing progress. The number now is below 100, and we have pushed it to be below 50 now. Deaths per annum. It's just unfortunate one death is just but too many. Only if we could that resolve the Eastern Cape, which is the biggest contributor of the deaths, then we'll be having a control on it. The second challenge obviously is going to be illegal schools where children just disappear. You don't know where they are, the parents don't know where they are, and then they come back with complications, or you then hear of a death in some mountain, in some mining dump, and so those then becomes a challenge. That is why government is bringing in a law that is introduced to Parliament, the Cultural Initiation Law, that is going to prevent anyone just to start a school, and you will be sentenced just to start a school. And therefore are going to be illegalizing all illegal schools, so that then people can go through formal established schools, both traditional, or they go to the medical facilities, and then they go and do it there, and then go for the cultural initiation thereafter. But if Eastern Cape can accept the male medical circumcision, it will go a long way in reducing deaths in the initiations.
But how are you dealing with this problem? I mean, is there any interaction with the traditional leaders, for instance? I seem to recall reading a story and even seeing visuals of yourself, in traditional attire, actually,
moving around and trying to encourage us.
Just tell us a bit about that.
Look, we do engage traditional leaders, and hence in the acceptance in Limpopo, hence the acceptance in Mpumalanga, and now spread into Northwest Free State. But the most difficult area, unfortunately, is the Eastern Cape. There are resistance, but we are not giving up on talking to them, engaging them until we find a solution. But unfortunately, the NGO sector, the medical doctors that went to Eastern Cape at the time when they introduced the male medical circumcision, were mainly white people who had arrived in. And unfortunately, then people just said, okay, what do these people know about our culture? And then they know nothing, then they resisted it forever. Now we then begin to retreat, remove them out of Lona by the health department, they remove them, and now the trust is not yet there. But we are talking to regain the trust so that we could then open up the discussion, because that's the only best way of doing it. Zimbabwe has now went for male medical circumcision. Boys goes first to the medical centers, they get circumcised, and thereafter then they go to the mountain, they go to the bush, and they come back as for cultural aspects of it. So we do share notes with what has happened in Zimbabwe, and we will be taking some of the traditional leaders to go and see it that it does not kill culture. In fact, it does enhance culture, and we save lives, because that's the most important thing.
Right, so what does it take to have male medical circumcision? Well, that after the break. Please stay with us.
Uyabona abantu abathi ngelinye ilanga ngingaphuma mina ngishiyo ANC ngenzeli enye iqembu kusho ukuthi abakangazi kahle.
I'm going to start with the so-called Revolutionary Council and deal with them legally.
We hold Hamas responsible for all acts of aggression from the Gaza Strip towards Israel.
I think he's been treated very, very unfairly by the media. As I call it, the fake media in many cases.
We know that if the evidence is presented properly, that a conviction at the end of the day could possibly follow.
I don't care what it was. What are you trying to achieve?
This is neither procedure.
That's your problem. You are even replying instead of making a ruling. You are just descending into the arena.
Take your seat, honorable member.
That's all you know.
Shervin Brixby's SABC News, New York.
Paul Barber, SABC News, London.
Ntebo Mokobo, SABC, Ufa, go tswa mo Russia.
Neha Punya, SABC News, Saharanpur in Uttar Pradesh in India.
Other than that, I've enjoyed every single moment of it.
Takwana Ngatani, SABC News, Soweto, Johannesburg.
Okay, welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. If you've just joined us, we're talking male circumcision with our special guests, and we had the Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance area, and we're now joined by two other special. We still have obviously Dr. Ezekiel Matebula, an MMC surgeon. We're now joined by Colin Bonechwe, who's the director of the National MMC program from the National Department of Health. Welcome to Health Talk, Mr. Bonechwe.
Thank you for having me, Doctor.
All right. And we're also joined by a young fellow, Kuzani Mpongos, who is a brand ambassador for the soccer campaign. Now, those of you who might know Kuzan, he's regarded as the king of Maskandi. Welcome to Health Talk.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah.
We're gonna tell us all about the soccer campaign and what you're doing in the music and industry to try and spread the message.
Yes.
But let's start with you, Dr. Matebula. Just describe to us, so here's somebody watching this program, so here's about male medical circumcision, we've heard all the good stories about, what it is for, what it does, and so on. What does it take? What should people do if they want to have their boys circumcised?
I think if it's a boy from 10 and above, though I had said our target group is from age 15 to 34, but if you are a parent, you have your 10-year-old boy or 10 and above, and you want them circumcised, you can call or go to any centers. We've got centers in all the 14 districts in the provinces. So you can send an SMS to our number, which is 0606 33 22 11.
Okay, we'll send out all those details. Later on the screen. But just tell us a bit about the procedure. How long does it take? Is it painful? What should you do and what shouldn't you do before and after?
Okay, because it's a procedure that's done under local anesthetic. So on the day when you come to perform the circumcision, you walk in. You're going to be given group education on what a circumcision is. Then you get screened to check and see if there are any medical problems that can prevent you from having that medical circumcision. Once you've gone through that, then you're offered a voluntary HIV testing. If you want to, you can. Then if not, you still proceed and have it circumcision. So they'll give you a local anesthetic according to your body weight or your age. Then a procedure will be done. It takes between 15 and 30 minutes. Then after that, they'll tell you, you come after 48 hours for follow-up. Then when we find that everything is fine, we see you after 7 days. But for 6 weeks, you should abstain from any activities.
Any sexual activities, in other words?
Yes.
So it takes 6 weeks to completely heal?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Bonechwe, let's come back to the national MMC program. Just give us a sense of what that is, whether or not we have targets and the rollout and so on from the department's perspective.
Thank you, Dr. Well, we, as a Department of Health, have introduced the MMC program since 2010, following recommendations by WHO that MMC is a recommended biomedical intervention in the basket of HIV prevention. So we are working on national targets, which are then subdivided according to provinces, but the targets are determined based on a scientific formula, which takes into account the general population, the eligible population of men available for circumcision, 15 to 49, actually, that's the age group that we're looking at as a program.
Yeah.
And then it looks at the prevalence of the HIV in the country, province, and so on. So that type of formula helps us to arrive at what should be the target. So our target for the last 5 years was 4.3 million. And I'm proud to say that we really did very well, comparatively speaking, compared to other 13 countries, African countries performing the same service. We ended up at about 3.4 million.
Yeah.
I mean, given all the difficulties around who is the service dealing with, men being that component of the population that's usually not easy to access.
Provinces differ, I would imagine. Are you having success at others as compared to the rest? And are there any particular provinces where you have a bit of a challenge?
Well, certainly, provinces do differ for a variety of reasons, of course. But fortunately, provinces with the highest burden of HIV are responding very well. KZN, Gauteng, Mpumalanga. That's where we're harvesting a lot of achievements in terms of the number of circumcisions. We refer to them as our priority provinces because they happen to have the highest HIV prevalence. Provinces like Northern Cape, of course, is comparatively quite slow, but for understandable reasons. If you think about the province has got the lowest population. Different points, the communities are far away from each other.
Right.
So but in those key priority provinces, we're doing quite well. KZN has just achieved.
Well, talk about KZN. Let's hear from the king of Maskandi, Kuzani Mpongos.
Yeah, Baba.
What is this SOGA campaign?
SOGA campaign ilakona esiphuma khona siqoquzela to motivate all the men to go for circumcision.
Yeah.
So there was a call from our king, ubaba inkosi uKudwe Elizwelithini, lapha khona bekamemeza wonke amadoda ukuthi awahambe ayosoka. Evuselela usiko lakaZulu lakudala olwamiswa ngasikhathi inkosi uShaka inezimpi ngokuthi ubunge ukwazi ukuya empini while usokile.
That's very interesting. So the King Zwelithini basically said to you guys, go out and spread the word.
Yes.
Encourage other people to get circumcised, but circumcised the medical way.
Yeah. So what I can say, when the king says we must all go for circumcision.
Yeah.
So as an artist, I made a Soga Ndota song.
Right.
To motivate or to highlight the importance of being a good man in South Africa and also be responsible for your health and your family's health.
Right.
So because as we all know that there are some more benefits from circumcision. It prevents HIV and also prevents your partner from cervical cancer.
Yeah.
Yes. So this song motivates all the men.
Right.
And there are so many people who went there after my song.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
When did you produce the song?
I think it was last year.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
It says, let's go for circumcision. All men must go there. And it also emphasizes the importance of being circumcised man.
Oh, great stuff,
Yes.
great stuff.
Yeah.
But what about you personally? I mean, you underwent circumcision yourself?
Yes, long time ago.
All right. And
Yeah.
where? At the mountains, or did you go to a clinic?
No, I went to a clinic.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
And why did you choose a clinic?
I'm not blaming the mountain.
Right.
You must hear that. I'm not blaming the mountain. But the only thing engayizwayo ngezwe ukuthi no uyazi ukuthi uma ukhuluma ngeclinic ukhuluma ngala ukuthi ma uphethwe ikhanda uthola khona amaphilisi.
Right.
So kumina ngifikele ukuthi no, I must go a clinic because ila engikholelwa khona ukuthi ngizosincedakala kahle.
Right.
I'm not blaming the mountain because if the mountain are safe to other people, I think they must go there as long as kuzoba safe.
Right.
But njengamanje ngigcizelela leyo ukuthi clinic was safe for me.
All right. Well, very interesting. You're not blaming the mountain, but you chose the clinic because this is a place that you regard as, safe, a place where you often get medical help when there's a need.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Mbongose, for the lovely work that you're doing, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. And ne page la ku Facebook. Sometimes kunabantu abasafunayo ukuyosoka because people they don't know.
Okay, what we'll do is we will put up, on our screens that detail showing your Facebook.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Time for another quick break. When we come back, we now talk about the way forward. How can we ensure that we don't have the tragedies that we often see associated with circumcision? That after the break, please stay with us.
We don't want any death. All traditional places must be centers to govern and administer initiates.
The agenda is to collapse what was once the leading electricity producer in the whole world.
I'm still waiting for him to go lay charges against anybody.
I have.
And that's what I'm
Luyanda's mother could not hold back the tears.
Luyanda, Temba Shabalala, I will miss you.
Public are advised to vacate those buildings. Decision has been made that some of them will be knocked down.
We have found widespread intimidation to coerce members of the public to hand over their voter registration slips by reminding them of the violence that occurred during the 2008 election.
He's a pathological liar.
If you don't withdraw, then I'll have to ask you to leave the room.
Speaker, I'm unable to withdraw the truth.
Then withdraw from the chamber.
I'm coming to you there to hold you. We are going out together.
Okay, welcome back. We'll continue our discussion on male circumcision with our guests, Colin Bunneji, Director of the National MMC Program from the National Department of Health, and Mr. Obed Bapela, Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, and in the middle, Dr. Ezekiel Matebula, an MMC surgeon. And we're now joined from our Devon studios by Melusi Yeni, who's an actor, and from Millionth Men Campaign. Welcome to Health Talk, Melusi.
Greetings to you, Doctor, and greetings to the panel there in studio with you today.
Okay, well, good stuff. Now, tell us about this Millionth Men Campaign. What is this?
Well, I guess it's a proud moment. It's a historic moment for KZN. Since 2010, when the campaign was initiated, due to partnership between the USAID and PEPFAR, we've been able to circumcise, I think, 3.4 million men in the period. Now, what is so unique and special for my province of KZN is that just about 12 days ago, we celebrated cutting the millionth man. So, as Ukuzane has said, that His Majesty King Goodwill Zwelithini has said, but best Lisa, let's get into the clinics. Because us men, I think there's a general perception with us men, we're scared to get into the clinics and into the hospitals. So it came from the leadership to say, men, let's get into the clinics, let's take better care of our health and needs, and let's manage our lives as pile. So we've been able, with the support of people like Amakosi as a KZN, with the likes of abantu abanjenga iinduna as a KZN, to say abantu besilisa asingenen, whether you are young or whether you are old, asingenen, let's get into the clinics and let's get circumcised. Why? Because of the health benefits. Dr. Tage has explained some of the health benefits.
Right.
So it is an absolute exciting time for KZN because we've been able to say 1 millionth man.
Right.
Now, the next exciting thing is now from the 1 millionth man, we're saying now How do we move forward? The plan is to say to men, guys, let's come into the clinics. Let's get cut. It's for our own benefits. It's for our partners. So we're trying to say, in fact, let's push for the next million to get circumcised, specifically in KZN. Because if you also look at the statistics in KZN, we're not doing so good. We haven't done so well. So the mere fact that we are able to get about 1 million men to come in KZN speaks volumes.
How long did it take you to get to the millionth guy?
Well, the campaign started in 2010. And then with the likes of people like Ukuzane, who's come in, Bampungose, who's written a song and has promoted the initiative, and with the likes of having Prince, who is the son of Your Majesty, to come and join hands and say, look, we are people who are probably in the public space. How can we come into the initiative? How can we bring value and help the initiative benefit? So we've done particularly well since 2010. I know from last year that aggressively so the numbers started growing, and they're growing even more.
Great stuff. Let's come back to our Joburg studio and speak to you, Dr. Mathebula. We're now talking about how to ensure that this circumcision procedure is safe. I would imagine there aren't too many complications at birth, or do you know of any?
At birth?
Yes.
No, it's phimosis, as I said, when you are born with a foreskin that can be retracted back.
Yeah. So just before that, so I mean, obviously, the communities that do circumcision as part of their religious beliefs.
Yes.
So soon after a baby is born, they would circumcise them.
Yes.
So clearly there, because it's in a hospital environment, there aren't too many issues.
Yes.
But later on, we did say that, look, you do get cases where, the sepsis that creeps in, for your colleagues now, and perhaps even for those that choose to go to doctors for the circumcision. What are those precautions that need to be taken to ensure that it is safe?
Firstly, it has to be done by a trained practitioner. There's extra training for performing a circumcision. We all go through medical school, but because we don't get a chance to perform those circumcisions, there's training that gets organized by PEPFAR, USAID, and the consortium to train doctors and nurses to be able to perform circumcisions. So you must make sure that it's a trained practitioner, and also you have to look at the facility, because there's some facilities when you walk in you can see no, this is not the right place. So you look at the setup in the facility. Then also ask questions when you get there. You must ask questions so that when you decide to perform the procedure, you are clear with everything.
Are the MMC practices branded? Can you clearly see that this is an MMC practice?
Yes. Usually when you get there, yes, it's branded and it's got logos of the funder, but also the certificate of the person that's performing the circumcision must be on the wall.
Okay. From a department's perspective, when you roll out MMC, I mean, do you put in quality issues to ensure that, it's done in a safe way? I would imagine that's something that you'd also look at. Just tell us a bit about that.
No, we have MMC guidelines, which generally provides direction as to what quality issues needs to be taken care of in terms of the provision of the MMC services generally. But over and above that, we've got a standalone program called Continuous Quality Improvement that now looks at issues of capacity development for service providers. They're taken through that, including practitioners, staff, everybody else, to understand. And we're dealing with all issues within the bigger environment of MMC. Issues of cross-infection, issues of how to observe health standards, how to do things in a way that would, of course, not compromise the patient following that. So we have that program. We've got a dedicated person at national, and it's got counterparts in provinces, so in most cases multitask. But of course, we've got that, and we are recently coming from a nationwide kind of external quality assurance visits and monitoring we ran through all the MMC outlets in the country to go and kind of just appraise ourselves in terms of the extent to which this compliance to standards, because they are quality standards.
And the outcomes?
The outcomes.
That quality assessment.
No. It is. The outcome confirms that we are generally, well, over 90% would not have problems. You see, the nature of this program is such that it cannot go without a mild one or two adverse events there and there. So generally we have a standard that's of course advised by WHO that all MMC programs should at all times ensure that they do not exceed a maximum rather, of 2% adverse rates.
Right.
So we did not pick up that. Yes, we did come across one area somewhere in the Free State where things were not very, very good, and it was the duty of those teams to kind of sanction to suspend the action. It wasn't anything to do with a direct threat to life, but it was more about compliance with the basic, procedures.
So, Minister, I'm sure it would be very nice to talk about quality issues with targets of, maximum 2% complications in traditional circumcision. But unfortunately, this is where you get, sometimes death. So let's talk about what we can do. I know we've been doing quite a lot of work in the past. What needs to be done going forward to just make sure that traditional circumcision is as safe as it can be?
Well, there's a national task team that includes the Department of Health, the Police, National Prosecuting Authority, and Social Development, where we are looking at how to make traditional initiation safe, and the circumcision part of which just constitutes 10%, by the way, because that's where death occurs in that 10%, the first few days after the surgical operation.
Right.
We are looking at it, but there's this acceptance, I think, that we need to appreciate that in provinces like Free State, Northwest, Mpumalanga, Limpopo, it has been well accepted, the new methodology of the male medical circumcision. That happens, and then initiation and cultural practices then taking over to then complete the initiate, which is rite of passage.
Right.
If traditional leaders can cooperate the way they are doing, will go a long way. In KwaZulu-Natal, we thank the king who came out to say this culture was abandoned during Shaga's period, but then because of the health reasons, he then made a call that all men, young and old, go to the clinics to go and do circumcision for health benefits and nothing else. And his voice has added to the numbers that we are seeing in KwaZulu-Natal. In the Eastern Cape, that's where then we ourselves as the National Task Team, we need to go and say, besides the initiation period, which we need to look at, how then we begin to talk to the traditional leaders and the kings in the Eastern Cape to say, this is the safest period, it's not assimilating culture, it's just the element of health and the benefits that goes with it. If they can accept it, that 10% and 90% the initiates belongs to them, and then they can go through cultural passage of right to adulthood and then be done. And also, whilst the MMC might be spread across the country, unfortunately in the Eastern Cape, after those who may have gone to MMC, when they go to cultural events, they get still marginalized. They then are forced to go to the mountain. When they found that you have already done an MMC, that's where that occurs. They get punished, plastic is put in a body, they get banned, all sorts of assaults happen simply because they say, why did you go to the MMC? And we didn't come here. Now you only come after. So within the Xhosa speaking group, that's the way we ought to then find a solution. We should not impose it. We need to engage them and then share experiences with other traditional leaders from elsewhere and within the SADC region also, so that they could then, at one point, we can reach some kind of a consensus. Then we will then have all those standards prescribed, because the law that is coming is already beginning to say these are the standards that are going to be done, whether you do it the traditional way or the male medical, but these are the standards that are going to be imposing on them to save life more than anything.
Yeah, all right. Well, Folk, if you want to check the status of a traditional surgeon, whether or not he's registered and legal or unregistered and illegal, now there's an app that you can access. Now, http /AWTP ezololwakho ezololugo.org.za/EN. Now, to protect yourself again and your family, you can book a free circumcision by just simply SMSing to 30869 or send a free "please call me" to 0606 332211, and a trained MMC counselor will give you a call. Now, I'd just like to thank our guest so much. Minister of Traditional, okay, we like it as Minister of Traditional Affairs, Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, and Dr. Ezekiel Matebula, Dr. Colin Bunetri, and of course in our Devon studios we have Melusi Yeni. Thank you so much, guys. Melusi, I'd like to have given you just a few more seconds, as your final thoughts, but unfortunately we've run out of time. Thank you so much for your contribution and keep up the good work. Sure. And to you guys at home, thank you so much for staying with us. We're back on your screens next week, same time. And until then, please do take care.